Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Morse encoder and decoder in Python so that you can write and decode Morse code with ease. So here we go. So the first thing we need is the text file that tells the program which Morse code characters represent which English characters. So here on my GitHub repo, gemencoder/Morse coder, we have a text file, and I'll provide a link to this in the description. And all it is a list of all the Morse code characters. So here we have a dot dash and then the letter A next to it. So on, it does that for all of the Morse code characters and then the numbers as well. And this is universal Morse code, I should mention. So all you gotta do is copy all of these like that, Control C, and then come up here and just make a new text file in your project directory. We're going to call it morse.txt. And we're just going to copy all those characters in, make sure we save it. Okay, now we're going to actually start the program. So we're just going to make two files. I'm going to be using object-oriented programming for this. So I'm going to have one file called morse.txt.py. And this will just hold all of the classes that we're going to use, the encoder and decoder. And then I'm going to make another one called, we'll just call it main.py. Okay, so we're going to leave this empty for now. And we're going to come over here to the morse.py. And we are going to first make a function just to read the morse.txt file. And that's going to look like this. So we're going to say def read Morse file, and this is going to take a file path, and then we're going to say with open the path that is provided, and we want the open to use the read method, and we're going to open it as f. And now we just got to return f.read, so it's going to read the file. And we're also going to split the file based off of new line characters. So this will return, what this will do is actually return a list where each element of the list is one line of this file. And that'll make it much easier to parse out the Morse code characters that you have here and the plain text characters. Okay, so now we are going to continue, and we are going to make the main Morse class. And this class will just contain a few variables like the name of the Morse code file, the char set, the Morse characters, and a function to parse out the Morse characters and the plain text characters from this file. Okay, so we're going to start by saying class Morse, and there we got the class. Now we're going to make the initiator method, under init. Okay, and we're going to say self.morse file is equal to morse.txt, or whatever you named the file. Just make sure that it's the same there. And we are going to read the Morse code file, so we're going to say self.morse file content is equal to read Morse file, and then we're going to provide the self.morse file there. Okay, now we need a variable for the character set, so we'll say self.char set, and we'll just set it to an empty list. Nope, not a dictionary, a list. And the Morse characters as well will also be an empty list. Okay, so now we need to, what do we need to do? We need to define the parsing function. And the parsing function will just extract the individual characters, so it'll extract the Morse code character and the plain text character from the file, and then add it to the either char set or the Morse chars, depending on which type of character it is. So we're going to start by saying def parse Morse file, and we are going to say for line in self.morse file content. We're going to split the line into two pieces. We're going to split it based on the space in between there. So we're going to say line is equal to line.split. We're going to split it at the space. And this will just be a list with two elements in it. The first one will be the Morse character, and the second one will be the plaintext character. So I'm going to say Morse char is equal to line first element, and the plain char is equal to line of the second element. Oh, and this also has to be a lowercase character, so we just got to make sure we put .lower at the end of that. And then we just say self.charset.append the plain character, and self.morse cars.append what are we doing? The Morse character. Okay, and that is just about it for the Morse parsing function. And that is also all that needs to be done for the Morse class. So now we can start work on the encoder class. So we're going to say class encoder, and this is going to inherit from the Morse class. And well, as you can imagine, this class is going to take plain text and it's going to encode it into Morse code. So we are going to say def init, and this initiator function is going to inherit from the Morse initiator function because we need access to most of those variables. So we're going to say, we're going to say super dot dunder init, and there, now we have access to the variables of the Morse class. And oh, actually I realized up here in the Morse class we need to call the parse Morse file function in the initiator method. So we're going to say self.parse Morse file. Okay, that's very important. Okay, now the encoder class is going to take a string of plain text characters. So we're going to call it plain text. And this plain text needs to be broken up into a list of words. So we're going to say self.words are equal to plaintext.split single space. There we go. And that is it for the initiator function. And now we can start working on the main run function. So we are going to say def run, and we are going to make a variable called encoded message, and this is just going to be an empty string right now. Okay, so now we need to loop over all of the words in the self.words variable right here. So we're going to say for word in self.words, we are going to make another variable called encoded word. That is also going to be an empty string for now. And now we need to loop over all of the characters in this word. So we're going to say for char in word. And now this is where we implement the logic to encode or decode the characters. So before we move on, I've prepared a little demo right here, just so I can explain to you exactly what goes on during the encoding and decoding process, so you know exactly what is happening. So, for example's sake, we are going to encode the word cab, so C-A-B, and we're going to loop over all of the characters in the word. So the first character is C, so the first step to encoding it is asking which index is the letter C in the charset list. And if we look here, it's at index 2, or the third element in the charset. So then we ask which Morse code character is at the second index, or third element, of the Morse code charset. And right here we see that it's dash dot dash dot, which means that C should encode to dash dot dash dot. Same thing for A. We see A is the first element, or index 0 of the charset, which means it should encode to whatever Morse code character is at the 0th index of the Morse cars list. Same thing for B, very, very simple. I don't think I have to explain it. I think you get the picture. Okay, with that out of the way, we can get into writing the actual code. So first we gotta get the character and index of whatever character we're dealing with. So we're gonna say car ind is equal to self.carset.index of whatever car, or whatever character it is. Okay, now we need to figure out which Morse code character that index corresponds to. So we can say Morse car is equal to self.Morse cars at the whatever index that car index is. So this is doing exactly as I just explained. If the character is C, it's gonna see that the index is 2, or the third element, so it's gonna come to the Morse cars list and give us the third, whatever character, Morse code character, is at the third element or second index. So there we have our Morse code character. So now we can just add this to the encoded word. We can say, let's see, encoded word plus equals Morse car. And then we are also going to add a space, because with Morse code, each character is separated by 1 space, and each word is separated by 2 spaces. Okay, so that is that loop. That loop is all done. And now we can just say encoded message plus equals the encoded word. And then we are also going to add a space. So this will make each word separated by 2 spaces. And all we got to do now is return the encoded message, and that is it. So that's all we got to do for the encoder class. The encoder class is 100% done now. So now we can start work on the decoder class. So we're going to come down here and say class decoder. This is also going to inherit from the Morse class. And the initiator, or the init function, or sorry, method, is going to be almost identical to this one. So we can just copy it. I'm going to change the name of the argument variable to Morse code. And I'm going to change, we got to change it there too. And we're going to split 2 spaces, because every Morse code word is separated by 2 spaces. Alright, now we got to do the run function. Now the run method for the decoder class is going to be very similar to that of the encoder class, with a few minor differences that I will point out as I go along. So let's start with the method. So we'll say def run. We are going to have a variable for the decoded message. That's going to be an empty string. And we are going to iterate over all of the words for the Morse code words. So for a word in self.words, and we are going to have a decoded word equal to an empty string. Now all this looks exactly like what we did up here, except now this is where we have to do something different. We have to split the word every space, because each Morse code character is separated by 1 space. So we need to make a list of Morse characters. So Morse cars are going to be equal to word.split single space. So now we have a list of Morse characters that we can iterate over and decode. So now we say for Morse car in Morse cars. Now we need to perform the exact same logic, except in semi-reverse as we did up here, where we are coming across a Morse character, getting its index in the Morse characters list, and then getting the character at the corresponding index of the car set list, and decoding the character that way. So we're going to say Morse car int is equal to Morse, it's going to be self.Morse cars dot index, dot index, there we go, of Morse car. So now we're going to say the plain, we're going to call it the plain text car is equal to self.carset at the index of the Morse car index. There. So as you can see, we just performed the exact same logic as we did for the encoder class, where we are taking a Morse code character, getting the index of that character in the Morse code car set, and then grabbing the plain text character at the corresponding index in the plain text car set list. And other than that, the only thing we did differently was split each Morse code word every space, since each Morse code letter is separated by a space. So now the only thing we got to do is add that plain text character to the decoded word. So we're going to say decoded word plus equals plain text character, and then we're going to say decoded message plus equals decoded word plus a space, since English words are separated by a space. At least that's how we do it in my house. So now we are going to say decoded message. Nope, we already did that. Actually, we don't need to do anything. We just return decoded message, and that is all. One last thing you can do though is just add a period to the end of the decoded message. So to do that, we select all of the letters except for the last one, which would be an empty space. So to do that, we do a colon -1 in there, and then just do plus a period, and that's all. So now we're going to come over here to main.py, and we are going to import Morse. Now we're going to ask the user which mode they want to use. We're going to ask them if they want to decode or encode Morse code or text. So now we're going to say mode is equal to str input. We're going to say decode or encode, and we're going to give them the options of D or E. Now we're going to say if mode is equal to E, then what we want to do is say text is equal to str input, and then we're going to say enter text. Oh, and actually I just realized we left out an important step in the encoder class. The input text needs to be lowercase, so we're going to say self.words equals plain text dot lower dot split. There we go. That will make sure that the program won't crash if the user enters capital letters. Okay, and now we are going to say encoded message is equal to Morse dot encoder, that we pass in the text dot run, and now we just print. We're going to print in an F string. We're just going to add 2 arrows and say the encoded message. Alright, so now we can do the same thing for the decoder. So we're just going to copy all that, bring it down here, paste it. We're going to change it to if mode equals D. We're going to change this variable name to code, and we are going to change this to enter code. Make sure we change that to code as well. Make sure you change it to Morse.decoder, and we are going to change this to decoded message, and decoded message, and there, that should be it. So now let's test it. Let's come down here. I'm already in the directory that I made the project in, so I'm going to say python3 main.py, decoder encode, I'm going to say encode or E, enter text, I'm going to say I am the gem encoder, and apparently that translates to this in Morse code, so I'm just going to copy that, and then I'm going to run the program again, decoder encode, I'm going to decode, and then I'm going to enter the code, all that, press enter, and it translates to I am the gem encoder, which means it worked. So I just want to point out that there is definitely room for improvement in the program. For example, if you enter an invalid character like a punctuation mark, well, like right there anyways, the program will crash, which isn't ideal. However, I didn't feel like this video was focusing on that, just the general logic of encoding and decoding things with mapped values. So that's just about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.